All right, if you're new to being a landlord or thinking about getting into the buy and hold process and your neighbor's best friends, uncles, cousins, first boss told you should rent to Section 8 tenants, but you have no idea what that means, you're in the right place. We're going to talk about how do you go through the process with Akron in particular. How do you make this a successful business venture for you? Stick around and talk about it some more. Okay, so let's just start with what is Section 8? I'm sure you hear a lot of terms, Section 8, AMHA, is it a voucher program? Are they different? Are they the same? Let me just clear that up. So what you're going to see in the market and what's actually happening is that it's essentially a program that's administered by the Akron Metropolitan Housing Authority, or AMHA. They administer the Housing Choice Voucher Program. That effectively falls under Section 8. What that is, basically what you're seeing is it's housing, it's rental and housing assistance. And if you're investing in real estate and you're looking at buying, buy and holds or rental properties, whether there's, single family housing or multifamily units, you can be opening yourself up to potentially renting your property to a Section 8 voucher holder. So let's talk about that. What are the benefits? So the basic benefits for you as a landlord or for you as an investor is that you're going to get consistent rental income that's going to be deposited directly into your bank account every month. It's a pretty easy way of going through the process. For someone who may not be an experienced landlord or have a good way of collecting rent payments every month, having it direct deposited into your bank account every month makes it pretty easy. It's also a good way to have somebody looking over your shoulder to make sure you're actually managing a rental property the correct way. The downside risk to it is that, it does take a few steps to go through. It's not overly complicated. It's actually very simple, and you just have to walk through those steps in an orderly fashion. That's probably the only big downside I see to Section 8. The other potential downside is that Section 8 does have limitations on what they will pay landlords for their monthly rent. So there is a capping process in a way, but it's not something that is going to ultimately limit the rent rate that you're going to be able to get. At least what we've seen right now in Akron, Ohio, and through AMHA is that the rents that they're willing to support are fairly comparable to the market rents right now that we're getting for non-Section 8, non-AMHA tenants. So let's dive into the process a little bit on how to become a Section 8 landlord. I know that's an area that a lot of people are a little scared of. What do I have to do? I'm going to rent a house. Potential tenants reaching out to me and applying, but they want to know if I accept vouchers. What does that mean? So let's take a few minutes and dive into it just to clarify and make this a little bit easier for you to understand. But basically, here's how the process works. Once you've decided to rent your house out and open it up to voucher holders, you're going to advertise the property. Once a voucher holder selects your property, whether it's through the HCV VP website, or if it's by coming out and meeting you in person or doing open house or a walkthrough or a scheduled appointment or however you like to do it. Side tip on renting properties, what we like to do is we like to create open house schedules, push them out there. That way you're meeting as many applicants at one time as you can, rather than scheduling appointments to go out there 2 on Monday, 3 on Wednesday, got a Friday morning and a Friday afternoon. Schedule an open house and then jump out there and have applicants and interested parties come through the property all at once. Kind of saves your time, but plus gives you the ability to meet more people in a shorter period of time. Once you've agreed to possibly go down this Section 8 voucher program with a tenant or with a potential tenant, with a voucher holder, you're going to submit a request for tenancy approval. So that's an RTA. So once you fill out that RTA, it's going to be submitted to the program, and immediately they're going to reach out to you to schedule the inspection. AMHA will schedule an inspection and will be inspecting the property, and it needs to meet minimum requirements in order to be approved for the program. And so once it passes that inspection process, AMHA will approve the rent amount. And again, as I mentioned before, the AMHA program does have approved rents that are reviewed every year. So there's a standard rent rate based on market rate. So again, you're going to apply, they're going to go through the inspection process, then they're going to review, and you're going to agree on what market rents are, and then you're going to agree on the move-in dates. And once those move-in dates are all decided and all that information is laid out, it's all going to be put together in the contract, and then both you and the tenants will need to sign off on the contract and then submit them to the AMHA program. One thing to keep in mind is that AMHA will come out and do biennial, once every 2 years, every other year. In other words, they're going to come in and do home inspection, and they're going to be checking for the same standards that they check the property for when you first went through the inspection process. Any violations need to be cleared as soon as possible. There's some very specific deadlines of how soon those need to be taken care of once AMHA finds a violation, and it's very much required that you have those fixed in a timely manner. So, but let's talk a little bit about the inspection process itself, because I think this is something that may scare some landlords from going through the process. It's not that painful. It's, more focused on safety for the tenant and just safety for the public. And it should be something that as a landlord and as a property owner, you should already be considering. So once you submit your RTA to AMHA, they're going to schedule that inspection. The unit has to be in move-in ready condition. So it has to be free and clear of any construction materials or construction equipment. It has to be move-in ready condition. And that's for all structures on the property. So not only the house, but if you have a detached garage, you can't just go store everything in the garage and say, hey, inspect the house, it's ready to go. But by the way, there's ladders, drywall, saws and everything else in the garage. A couple of other key things that they're looking for. Make sure there's no chipping or flaking paint. It's something we see with FHA buyers, and it's something that's particularly important for the voucher program and should just be considered when you're getting a property ready for rentals anyway. Chipping and flaking paint is probably one of the number one red flags that pops up during inspection. That can be on the base of the exterior of the house, on the brick, on the foundation. It could be on the back of the garage. It could be in the basement area. It could be just about anywhere where any person can get access to it. Obviously, the concern here is that most homes, a lot of homes, especially in our market that are coming up in the rental zone, in that rental market phase, were typically built before 1978, and they pose a threat to have lead in the paint, which is extremely serious issue that is something that needs to be monitored and reviewed, but there is proper mitigation. There's proper ways to protect against lead paint exposure. And one of the ways that AMHA is making sure they're helping protect the public is by checking to see that there's no flaking or loose paint anywhere within the living areas. So as you're preparing the house for rent, just know that that's something you should have been doing already, but AMHA inspection process is definitely going to flag it. So go ahead and just get that taken care of right away. The second big thing that they look for are going to be smoke alarms. So make sure the smoke alarms are in the proper locations throughout the structure. Obviously, that's a big safety hazard, and just making sure that those are in place. Those should be in place in all your rentals anyway, but putting smoke alarms in all the appropriate areas is fundamental and is something that the AMHA inspection folks are definitely going to look at. The third big item they look for is that anything that has a height above 30 inches has a railing. So, make sure that railing is properly secured and isn't just a piece of wood that's got splinters hanging off of it, right? It's got to be usable. Think about kids hanging onto it, or, elderly folks, or people that, everybody slips and trips on. It's good to have something to hold on to that you're not going to injure yourself with. So probably the last and probably the minor issue is that if you are providing appliances, or if the tenant's bringing appliances, make sure you're clear on what that looks like in the contract and the lease agreement. But if you're providing any of the appliances, those appliances have to be in good working condition. So it can't be something where, hey, they're going to move in and I know I'm going to give them, I'm going to bring in a new stove after they move in. That appliance has to be in good working condition before the tenant moves in, and it has to be ready when they do the inspection. So just keep that in mind. And then the last, probably just adding on to that, make sure that there's no additional leaks, any of the plumbing, all the plumbing works, all the lights work, the sockets work. If it's a socket that should be grounded, and it's in the receptacle's installed as a grounded receptacle, that it's grounded appropriately. I think you can get one of those receptacle checkers, socket checkers from Lowe's or Home Depot for $15. You can walk around and basically check them all, or have an electrician come out and check all your sockets to make sure that they're grounded appropriately. So AMHA will be checking the sockets for proper grounding. They're also going to check to make sure that the faucets aren't leaking, the hot water works, the hot water tanks are in good working order, the furnace works, the air conditioning, if there, works as well. Basic functionality of the property. So basically, just to wrap that up, hopefully that clarifies a lot of the questions you might have around what is Section 8. Should I become a Section 8 landlord in our market, in your market, or in particular, if you're looking in Akron, Ohio. We're building off this investor series a little bit and specifically focusing on our market, hopefully giving folks that are outside of the Akron area a little bit more of a better understanding of what's available here, how good the market is here, and how to be a good, competent landlord in this marketplace. more importantly, probably breaking down some of the myths and confusion and concern and questions around what is Section 8. Stick around for some more. Hit the like button, subscribe. We'll have more good content coming along here to help you along your travels and help you become more educated as a real estate investor. And again, and obviously, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. We're here in Akron Market, and we'd love to help you acquire rental properties, or if you just want to get educated on the process, we're open to those conversations as well.